All right, friends, it's Timon. We're back with a brand new video. We're gonna react to found my fitness clips. Yeah, you know this guy. You probably, yeah, and you know this lady. You've probably seen her before. So we're gonna react to found my fitness clips. Scientists discovered exactly how much protein maximizes muscle growth. New research. Okay. This is so stupid, bro. The research is not new, it's old. How much protein you need to be in positive nitrogen balance so that you can could regenerate faster than you deteriorate.
Let's go back to, we've established a new floor. Really, there is nobody that should be consuming less than 1.2 grams of protein per kilogram per day. What happened?
That's dumb. What if all you eat is protein, animal products, which are protein? What if that is the only thing you eat? Why the fuck would you eat that amount, that little amount? You eat to satiety, to be not hungry. So let me get this straight. So you should only be eating that amount, but the slave food diet, you should just eat it endlessly forever and ever. The reason why you're starving and eating so much slave food diet is because human cells only want nutrients. So that's how you know that you're a carnivore animal. That's the proof, because science has already proved that. They've done the petri dish tests. They also know that your brain wants protein. And when it doesn't get enough protein, you misconstrue that for peasant slave food diets. And you keep eating it and eating it forever. That's the whole point. It's like a dog chasing his tail, but never being able to catch it. And the government knows that. And they enjoy that so that you can keep eating peasant slave food diets and spending your money, because you're not buying food. You're just buying marketing. Get it? Yeah. You're funding the system.
As we start to increase that from 1.2 to 1.6?
Great question. And this is, again, is where I turn to...
And this lady's like the dumbest scientist I've ever seen in history, bro. And everybody knows that. Just listen to her, the way she speaks. She's crazy. This is not new science. Science tells you when protein synthesis outpaces protein breakdown, that's when your body has a surplus of protein. That's when it will repair your body. It's associated with repair and growth. It will not repair, will not grow if protein synthesis doesn't outpace protein breakdown. If you're not in positive nitrogen balance, get it? Yeah, man. This is not new science. You can't even build muscle if you're not in positive nitrogen balance. It's impossible.
The experts like Stu Phillips, in fact, he did a really great meta-analysis looking at about 49 different studies in adults that were undergoing, these are controlled trials, resistance training alone or resistance training plus.
Yeah, what about it?
Supplemental protein. And the supplemental protein went up to 1.6, well, actually went up above that. But what was really found in that study was that even going from like 1.2 grams per kilogram body weight per day, obviously, to 1.6 grams per kilogram body weight.
Yeah, I know what she's talking about. She's saying you going these amounts of protein on a peasant slave food diet, because that's the part she's not telling you, on the omnivore diet. She's not telling you that you, as a person that's only eating meat, doing that. And she says in the title, they talk about being cooked, right? They said cooked, cooking. Where if you're cooking, you're not really getting the full amount of protein because you're destroying it. Destroying, not cooking, destroying. Get it? So it's not the same. It's not the same as eating it raw.
People gained about 27% more lean body mass and 10% more muscle strength compared to just training alone. Same training.
Yeah. Why did they gain more muscle mass and more strength when they upped the protein? Because protein synthesis needs to outpace protein breakdown to see that mass on that myofibrillar, bro. Get it? This is so dumb, man. Like, how dumb can these people be?
just adding the protein, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's pretty big.
I was going to say that is bigger than I would.
They look shocked, man. Wow, that's pretty big. When they added the protein, they got stronger and they built muscle mass. They didn't build muscle because muscle's post-mitotic, but they did build some mass, like the proteins, the contractile proteins. They built up a bit doing their resistance training. I wouldn't say, I can't tell you how much. It's kind of obvious. You're still going to build up some proteins as long as you get more protein is outpacing protein breakdown. You'll still build up some of these these contractile proteins. Get it? But at an astronomically slow rate as opposed to doing EIMD training, because EIMD training is more how should I put it, superior, but whatever, for that growth.
Would expect, especially on the strength side.
In the strength side, they were gaining. So the protein itself. But if you think,
okay, here's the question. So what was making them stronger? listen to the question. She says they increased the protein and they increased their mass, and she says they got stronger. Okay, so what got them stronger? The contractile proteins. The protein, when it exceeded breakdown, it increased some of the proteins in there in the muscle doing resistance training. Get it? In other words, they got some structural damage inside. They got some metabolic stress in the cell and some damage in there, minute damage, and so they ate protein, whatever. They increased the contractile proteins because it outpaced the breakdown. Okay, and so they got stronger. Get it?
Think about it in a way, we're talking about supply and demand, right? So now we're talking about more optimal, a little more optimal. We're talking about people that are training. That's number one. You need to be training. If we're talking about optimal protein intake, you need to be training.
You need to be training. You want to be optimal. You need to be training. Well, if you want to open a window for protein synthesis, you should be training, I guess, right, to increase the contractile proteins, because also it could be that you're so adapted at this point, you're not really causing any structural damage. But I mean, you're still causing some damage, but on a very low scale, a very small scale. But the problem is a lot of people don't know the key to building muscle, the secret. I told you before, you need money to build bodies because you need to eat food. The key driver of hypertrophy, right? This myofibrillar hypertrophy, I'm not talking about sarcoplasmic, is what? When protein synthesis exceeds protein breakdown. See, notice how she said they got stronger eating protein. She didn't say eating carbohydrates and expanding the sarcoplasm. She said protein, which builds what? Contractile proteins, which builds what? Myofibrillar growth, muscle,
And then, what's happening when you're training is you're breaking down muscle. You need protein to support the repair of that muscle and the.
First of all, you need protein to exceed breakdown, and then you need it to, and then a bunch of stuff, and then once you exceed that, you need even more. You need a reserve of protein to repair and grow those muscles. Yeah.
Rebuilding of it. Yes. And so that makes sense in a way.
Yeah.
I love this. That makes sense in a way. Like, duh, it didn't really kind of past your head, I guess. You see, that's the thing. The fitness industry doesn't want you to know that because they want to keep you. Everything is in this world is made to make money off you, to keep you guessing and keep you trapped, to keep you away from the truth, so they can keep you as a slave. They want to slave you. The truth will release you from your bondage, your slavery. But if you want to stay as a slave, then keep believing what these people tell you. Get it? Don't search for answers. Knock and the door will be open. Ask and thou shalt receive. You'll if you ask, you'll get the answers. But you're not asking. That's your problem. You're not seeking and you're not asking. That's why people are so dumb. They can't read between the lines. Get it?
Yeah, I was surprised by the strength as well.
And why would you be surprised about the strength? If you increase the contractile proteins, you get stronger. If you get bigger, you get stronger.
Really, once you went above 1.6 grams, there was still increases in muscle protein synthesis.
But the curve is slowing down.
I like the analogy that Stu Phillips uses. He says, like, if you have like a wet washcloth and you squeeze it to get all the water out, like most of that water is coming out at 1.6 grams per kilogram body weight. But you can keep squeezing a little and you're still getting some water out. It's just it's just sort of marginal. It's like most people don't care about that difference. Some people do. Now, let's say you're someone that's obsessed with banking muscle mass. You're going to care about that. Let's say you're a high-level athlete. Definitely going to have to go above 1.6, right? That's when you get into the more 2.
If you're an athlete, why? The question is this: ask yourself this question: Why do you need to outpace protein breakdown, especially as an athlete? Why do you need to be in positive nitrogen balance? Why? Because in order for you to function properly in all these sports, remember, your body is breaking down proteins. It's building up and breaking down. If it's breaking down, you'll get weaker. You understand me? You'll deteriorate. You'll get weak, and that is associated with deterioration. That's not associated with regeneration. You need to constantly be in a regenerative state.
0.2 grams per kilogram body weight. So people that are doing a high level of training, whether that's endurance or strength training, resistance training, right? Because endurance athletes, I mean, you were battling being catabolic.
Right.
So
exactly. And catabolic hormones do what? They weaken you. Get it? Now, if you're in positive nitrogen balance, the catabolic hormone is suppressed. Get it? It's not there. It's not interfering. You're now anabolic. Now, how do you make yourself anabolic when protein synthesis outpaces protein breakdown? Yeah. And that anabolic state makes you stronger because now you're not competing with the catabolic hormone, because the catabolic hormone has converted to an androgen. So your hormones don't have to compete with it and the myocytic androgen receptor for more what? For maximal force production, which also gives you strength. See, here's the thing. Motor units definitely give you strength, but people wonder, how come these people that inject steroids, they get even stronger? Well, they get stronger because the hormone binds with the androgen receptor. Get it? In other words, your catabolic, even if you're, let's say you're not really eating a lot, and your catabolic hormone is still there, but you injected a lot of hormones. Well, now the catabolic hormone is competing with the hormones that you injected with the myocytic androgen receptor. Get it? They're both competing now. Get it? But guess what? One is outpacing the other because you injected endogenously. See what I mean? Yeah. So that hormone can kind of suppress the catabolic hormone. It doesn't allow it to compete with the receptor because there's more hormone coming in than the catabolic hormone competing with the myocytic androgen receptor for maximal force production.
So that would be, I think the evidence for more optimal, you're talking about 1.6 grams per kilogram body weight.
Okay.
And then you can get marginal benefits above that, right? Up to like 2.2 grams per kilogram body weight. But
What do you mean you can get marginal benefits? You can get absolute benefits.
yeah, and that's, again, people that are really training.
Yeah, to me, there's an analogy here with ApoB and cardiovascular disease, right? So if you look at the three bodies of evidence, so if you look at all of the epidemiologic data, if you look at all of the clinical
Yeah, okay.
trial data, and if you look at all of the Mendelian randomization data, and you plot every single one of them on a graph, and there's a beautiful graph which we'll include in the show notes that does this. So on the x-axis, and it's done in LDLC, but again, LDLC, ApoB, easy to sort of view them together. So you have, on the x-axis, you have LDLC going down, right? So from 160, 140, 120, 100, 80, 60, so descending LDLC, and on the y-axis, you have mortality, cardiovascular mortality. So not surprisingly, all of these point down. As LDLC goes lower, cardiovascular mortality goes lower. What's interesting, though, is you can see that...
Why does mortality go down lower? Want to know why mortality goes down lower? Because you're regenerating faster than you can deteriorate.
That there are different points in the curve at which it starts to matter more. And at some point it flattens out. You don't get as much benefit from reduction. And so we could use the same argument of, well, what is optimal? So because we're doing the reverse here. Here, lower is better as opposed to going up on protein. But Peter Libby has done an analysis that has demonstrated that you will continue to see a meaningful reduction in cardiovascular disease as ApoB heads towards 30 milligrams per deciliter. 30 milligrams per deciliter is really low by most people's standards. For context, 60 milligrams per deciliter is about the 5th percentile to population level. 30 milligrams per deciliter is about what a child is. So, we're born with relatively low levels of ApoB, and as we age, they just keep going up and up and up, which, of course, is one of the things that's driving cardiovascular disease is this rise in ApoB. So
the reason why children look so good when they're growing up, they look young, is because they're in positive nitrogen balance. That's why. You can read it up in science. The human body is in positive nitrogen balance, growing. Yeah, pretty much. Now, if you're not getting the required nutrition, you can fuck it up during that period. You understand me? During that period, you can fuck up growth. So pregnant women are in positive nitrogen balance, and children, when they're growing up, are in positive nitrogen balance. You understand me? I think it's really hard for people to comprehend what that means. Positive nitrogen balance is associated with youth.
question then becomes, how low do you need to go? Should everybody be walking around at 30 milligrams per deciliter? Is that the solution to eliminating ASCVD? And the answer is probably not, right? It probably depends on your previous exposure, though, right? So if I have a patient who's already had 2 stents placed and has a significant burden of disease, you bet your bottom line they're at 30 milligrams per deciliter of ApoB, even if...
Yeah, why is he suffering from all these things? Because the peasant slave food diet has caused it.
We have to put 3 drugs on them to make sure that's the case, because their burden of disease and their lifetime exposure to ApoB has been so high. But if I have an individual who's 40 years old, who has perfectly pristine coronary arteries and is walking around with an ApoB of 60 milligrams per deciliter, I don't think you need to do a thing. I think they're just fine. And again, it's the inability, I think, for people to understand that level of nuance and understanding when it's worth the second squeeze versus when just the sloppy squeeze is good enough is very frustrating for a person like me who craves nuance.
Right, agreed. I love that analogy. And I think it's perfect because, again, I do think most people that are training probably are getting a great amount of benefit from 1.6 grams per kilogram body weight. But that doesn't mean you can't go above that and still get a little more benefit, right? And certainly when you start to get into that, energy deficit phase as well, like, so we were talking about elite endurance athletes, that's one way to be in an energy deficit. But there's also people that are actively trying to lose fat, gain muscle. If you want to lose fat and gain muscle at the same time, you're going to have to take in a lot of protein.
Yeah. And
Yeah, think about it. If you want to lose fat but gain muscle, they say you need to take in a lot of protein. Yeah. She didn't say peasant slave food diet. Exactly. I know from my experience because you're anabolic. When you take in a lot of protein, when protein outpaces protein breakdown, you're in positive nitrogen balance, you are anabolic. If you're anabolic, what do steroid people on steroids, what do they take to get lean mass, to get this fat, lean mass to lose fat? What do they take? Anabolics. So they switch from high androgens to anabolic steroids. But guess what's going to make you anabolic? High protein. Protein, when nitrogen balance, positive nitrogen balance is going to make you what? It's going to make you anabolic. And if you're anabolic, you're going to lose fat and gain mass. Get it? It's the opposite.
so that's another very important point.
But if you're in negative nitrogen balance and eating a peasant slave food diet and spiking insulin, you're going to gain fat and possibly lose muscle. But if you gain more fat than gaining any muscle, of course, eventually muscle will have to, it's going to have to adapt by increasing itself artificially to maintain this weight of fat on your body. That's all. It'll give you it'll just give you some mass It'll accumulate because being forced to do that because you're carrying so much fat on your body. Otherwise, you'd be dead. You wouldn't be able to walk around or move around hardly. And it's probably happened to some people. I don't know. Maybe that's why they're on scooters and walkers and shit. They can barely move around. They move so slow because maybe the body's not even compensating and giving you enough muscle to carry all that fat around. Who the fuck knows?
Another point I want to make is you're still dealing with an asymmetric target. And so we tell our patients to be closer to 2. Now, I know that's just going to get a whole bunch of people on the anti-protein train just losing their mind. I can just see the phosphorylation going off right now as they're watching this clip.
I love him using that word, phosphorylation. Yes, okay.
How is this guy so irresponsible to tell his patients to eat 2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight? Didn't he just hear what Rhonda said? 1.6 is good enough for...
A person that, if that's all a person eats is animal products, meat, protein, then they're going to starve. Get it? That's not enough. That's not enough to sustain life.
Most people. Well, my patients, unfortunately,
Why doesn't he say nutrients? You require so many nutrients. And I know they're going to say calories. No. Why doesn't he? How much nutrient intake does your body need? He doesn't tell you. He keeps saying protein, but he never mentions anything about the nutritional value of, these minerals and vitamins and proteins and or amino acids. How much amino acids do you need? How much of this stuff do you need? But he doesn't say anything. He just says protein.
Don't live in labs. Unfortunately, Rhonda, my patients live in this place. It's called the real world. And in the real...
Yeah, in the real world, you'd be eating meat all day in the real world. So you wouldn't worry about any of these things. This is just in the fake world, his world, the imaginary world. They have to tell you all these things because I guess they have to keep you entertained.
World, you can't always hit your targets. Some days you do, some days...
Yeah, hunters, they hunt, they live out in the nature. They know, they hit their targets. They hit them.
You don't. Some days you're traveling, some days you're not. Some days you can figure it out, some days you can't. So,
you want to know why you can't figure it out? Because you're living an artificial life, sir. You're not hunting and you're not living out in nature. You live in this, whatever. You live in a prison there. Look at you. There's walls around you. You're not even in nature. Where are you?
If I'm telling somebody to hit 1.6, and one day they're at 1.2, another day they're at 1.7, another day they're at 1.5, another day they're at...
Yeah, okay, yeah. And what about it?
1.9. On average, they might hit 1.6. But how many days were they below versus how many days were they above? Let's just say it's an equal split. But we've just established the...
If they were below, then they're a negative nitrogen balance. Therefore, they're deteriorating faster than they can regenerate.
Shape of this curve is like this. So that means every day you're below, the downside is much greater than the upside of being above.
No, really? So you're breaking down proteins faster than they're building up. So what does that mean? Oh, I'm deteriorating faster than I'm regenerating. Because if you're above, that means you have a surplus of protein. Therefore, you are now regenerating faster than you're deteriorating. Get it?
In other words, all the days you're above are not making up for all the days you're below. So
yeah, so you should be above all the time. Get it? So you can make up for that.
What I'd really like to do is shift the range so that your low day is 1.6 and your high day is maybe 2.2.
You should never have a low day, ever. You should never be on a low day, ever. You want to know why? Because you'll deteriorate, that's why. And then you'll go celebrate this deterioration as a birthday.
And then guess what? You don't have days where you are ever amino acid restricted.
Right.
And this is the difference between people who take care of people in the real world and bozos who write on Substack who don't know the first thing about clinical medicine when it comes to managing athletes and people who have to fend for themselves every day with every meal. And this is why I'm so tired of talking about this, but I feel we need to talk about it. And so if you're sitting there listening to this and you're confused and you're asking, oh my God, should I be eating 2 grams per day? Yeah, more or less. And that way, if you fall short at 1.6, you can be confident that you're okay. But if you're aiming at 1.6 and you have a bad day, and you will, when you hit 1.2, you might be taking a step backwards, and you won't make up for it the next day.
I can just tell you from personal experience that it's actually smarter to aim higher because I'm constantly not meeting the 1.6.
I am not. This is the thing. People look at me.
Yeah, she's constantly not meeting the 1.6. She should aim higher because she's deteriorating faster than she can regenerate. That's why. But not so much because she's not expelling it as energy because she doesn't work. She doesn't do anything. She doesn't do any labor work or anything like that. She's not exercising, doing labor work. She's not doing anything. She just comes on podcasts, does stuff, some science bullshit, whatever. You understand me? So she's not really completely deteriorating as other people who are breaking down more proteins than they can build up because they're busy working, doing, physical jobs, doing stuff, maybe exercising the shit out of themselves, whatever. If you're mostly static like her, then you don't have to worry too much, but she's definitely deteriorating still, but just at a slower pace.
Like I'm a protein
In other words, some people faster, some people slower.
eating machine, which first of all, I'm not. But secondly, I have a hard time hitting my goals too. I'm busy. I miss meals. Sometimes we just have a low protein meal. Like for whatever reason, my kids want to have pasta for dinner and we literally have pasta and sauce.
So they literally ate pasta. They ate a food that has no nutrients in it. Zero nutrients. And the protein that's in there, you can't absorb it. It's not animal protein. It doesn't uptake like animal protein. It doesn't work.
Pasta. It's like there's no freaking protein in this anyway. So
In other words, it makes your belly full. It keeps you busy, makes your stomach full. And it keeps your body busy. You know what I mean? But in all reality, you're starving. You ate something and now you're still starving. You ate spaghetti, but you're starving.
it's very difficult if you don't have a chef prepare.
Okay, let me explain this starving thing. The pains in your stomach have curbed, but your cells are starving for what? Nutrients, because they're not getting it.
Preparing your every meal, and I never have a chef preparing any of my meals unless I'm out at a restaurant to hit these targets every day.
Right. And
You need a chef to hit those targets every day. Well, I go to the buffet, get hit. I go to restaurants and buffets, and I'm hitting that target all the time. So I don't need. I have my own personal chefs.
also, I was thinking about this because we mentioned the 1.2 being the sort of the minimum buy-in. The 1.6 grams per kilogram body isn't necessarily just for people training a little bit. It's also older adults that are not training, like because we talked about the anabolic resistance, them needing twice as much protein as well. And
You're not anabolic resistance. What you are is deteriorated. That's what you are. You're taking on more DNA damage. You're in a deteriorated state now at this point.
so what you're talking about here is going up to 2 so that you can really have an average at least of 1.6, right? You're getting that average. But again,
Well, and it's just, I never want to fall below that.
Below it.
That's really the point, is I know, because again, I'm training every single day.
Oh, yeah.
Right now, am I training like a madman? No.
I'm training every day. Like, that's so important to train. You don't necessarily need to train. You don't need to do anything. What you need to do is be in positive nitrogen balance. That's all you need to be in. Animals, they don't train. Animals don't train in nature. They're not falling apart or anything. They're always in positive nitrogen balance because they're eating their proper diet and they're meeting that need. They're meeting their needs. Think about it. Cows are out in the field eating grass all day. Why are they eating grass all day? Why don't they stop? Because they can't. They have to consistently eat to meet that need. If they don't, they'll deteriorate. The cow will deteriorate if he doesn't get what he needs outside in nature, eating grass all day. Get it? But you're not a grass eater. You're not a herbivore, so you're not out there eating grass all day. But you act as one, though. Humans act as like herbivores because they're omnivores, right? So you're eating these foods and you're consistently consuming them. The problem is Those are not the foods that your cells want. Your cells want nutrients and amino acids, and it wants it from animal products. It doesn't want it from peasant and slave food diets. But of course, people will argue with you and they're going to try to tell you you can eat plants and all this kind of shit, man. Farming is not natural. The plants aren't natural. They're engineered. Everything you're doing is artificial. But again, you're going to get crazy humans. They're going to argue the fuck with you and tell you, yeah, look, man, I would love to take some of these humans and put them out in nature and see how they fucking survive out there eating these so-called fruits and plants and shit and whatever else and fake foods. Yeah, like that is meant for you to eat. Go find some of them out there while you hunt.
But 7 days a week, I'm either doing some form of cardio or something in the gym. So it's just,
I guess if you're not hunting, you need to do some cardio to mimic hunting, right? Like play sports or some shit.
know that I'm going to take steps backwards if I'm below 1.6. So I'm going to overshoot so that my down day is 1.6.
Right.
And if my up day is 2.5 once in a while, who cares? Because that gets to the next point. Show me the data. Show me the data that eating
Show me the money. Show me the data. The data is there, dude. I told you already.
2.5 grams of protein per kilogram per day is even remotely harmful. I'm still waiting for it. I'm still waiting for the...
How could it be harmful eating protein? This is crazy. Protein is your diet. How can it be harmful eating protein if protein synthesis needs to outpace protein breakdown to be in an anabolic growth state? Get it? So that you're repairing and growing. That doesn't make any sense. How could it be harmful?
data. David Allison wrote a piece on LinkedIn recently where it was basically a call to anyone. Just show me the data that meet these criteria. Human clinical trial of this duration, like nothing but crickets.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't seen any human data either, for sure.
Yeah, you want to know why there's crickets? Because these people are stupid.
I mean, the most negative data I saw recently was a study that looked at total parenteral nutrition in ICU patients, where the question was, hey, should we be ramming high amounts of protein in these people? And the most negative thing you could say is it had no benefit.
What? The most negative thing you can say, it had no benefit. Well, science says otherwise. Science says protein synthesis needs to outpace protein breakdown, be in positive nitrogen balance, so that you can repair, right, and grow. And if you're not in positive nitrogen balance, you cannot repair and you cannot grow. And it's the opposite. You'll be atrophying. You'll atrophy and apoptosis.
And that's interesting.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
maybe we shouldn't be ramming high protein total parenteral nutrition into the central veins of...
We shouldn't be, I love this part. We shouldn't be ramming high nutrition. He said high nutrition, protein, high nutrition. We shouldn't be ramming nutrition inside these people. Why? What should we be ramming in them? Peasant slave food diet? Cardboard? Is that it? So they starve and atrophy. Okay.
critically ill ICU patients.
Why? They gave burn victims 36 raw eggs a day. Why did they give them raw eggs? Why didn't they cook the eggs, give them to them cooked? Why didn't they give them 36 cooked eggs? They gave them 36 raw eggs a day to burn victims because it makes you anabolic. It's associated with repair and growth. Get it? Because you're in positive nitrogen balance. Now, get it? You're anabolic as opposed to being catabolic. See? Get it?
But it didn't harm them.
Right.
And if anybody's going to be harmed, I would think it's the people that are in renal failure.
Right.
Right. The people who are going to be harmed are people in renal failure. That's bullshit too, man. They're not going to be harmed. They have renal failure because the peasant slave food diet has caused that. Get it? And your deterioration, you deteriorated. Your parts are not working because they're deteriorated.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the end of the video. I'll see you. Yeah, exactly. Whatever, man. I'll see you in the next video. Tell us what you think about that. Like, subscribe, support the channel. I'll see you in the next one. This is hilarious. How dumb can these people be? Look, I'm not a scientist or a doctor, but I'm not that stupid. I can read the literature. Science tells you all these things. I brought them up a million times. And even though I bring them up a million times, people still question on my channel because they're so dumb, man. I'll see you in the next one. Why are humans so dumb?